Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Apologies for the slight delayed start. We had some technical issues. Joining me is Priyanka Deo, and Priyanka and I are going to be talking about some latest incidents that took place as late as today. In fact, just hours ago. And what is happening in the race, what is the USP of the candidates, and so on and so forth. Let's welcome Priyanka Deo. Priyanka, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Namaste. Thank you for having me. And I'm glad we could get this show started as soon as possible. So,
So,
Sri,
viewers,
yep,
yeah.
go ahead.
No. I yield the floor to you. Ladies first.
I know I actually just was gonna get right into it because we were getting, we started a little late. But you mentioned that
Yes.
something happened just about an hour ago. So now I'm going to give the floor to you to mention or to elaborate on what's happened, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, indeed. So there was an emergency landing of a plane carrying Donald Trump. He was supposed to be going to Bozeman in Montana, but the plane developed some kind of a mechanical trouble, and they had to do an emergency stop in Billings, Montana. I'm just going to show you the plane landing, a video of that, and then we'll talk a little bit about this. Here we go. As you can see, it took a long time to put its nose down. I almost thought it was going to take off again. There was no smoke coming out of it. I guess that was good news. But I have a small slideshow to show as part of this. So let's take a quick look at that slideshow also, because that will complete the whole thing. So the plane had to do an emergency landing on its way to Bozeman, Montana at Billings, Montana. So they're almost there. Some trouble, technical trouble, and they had to land. But luckily, nothing was smoking. But let's take a look at what path the plane took. Look at that. The marked thing is what is the path it took. Look at the way it has gone zigzag two times. Once it went straight left, then it came back, and then again at the bottom of the U, you can see that it tried one approach. It didn't quite work, and then it went back. This almost sounds like there was some sort of an equipment malfunction, especially this part. I don't know if you can see the arrow mouse. This means the plane was going to try and land here. The airport was here. So
Crazy.
whatever, but the good news is that Trump came on and talked about Montana. He acted like nothing happened. So let's hope that it was just one of those things where planes do have some technical difficulties, and that there were nothing more that we need to look into it. So this is today's episode. The overall in the elections, you are a Chicagoan. No, you are an Illinoisan. Tell me what is happening in the great state of Chicago. I'm sorry, Illinois.
I think, Illinois is very different because the city of Chicago is very different from the rest of the state. So I'm located in Springfield, where we do see, I mean, just the other day I was driving and there was an SUV with two huge Trump flags, which I don't think you'll ever see in Chicago. So I think that the rest of the state is quite conservative because it is rural. For the most part, if you drive through Springfield, you'll see soybean and you'll see corn on the other side. I think that Springfield is also a very unique place. It's the capital of Illinois, but it is a political powerhouse, especially after Obama kind of made his mark over here. So since then, and even before then, I would say it's always been a very strategic place for state politics. with that being said, I think city of Chicago is a mess right now just because of the amount of immigrants there. I think there's an overpopulation of them. People are getting frustrated because these immigrants are now in schools. They are now in places where children are studying. They are now in places where citizens need to go to on a daily basis. So people are getting frustrated, and it doesn't matter where their political leanings are. But it seems that all of these immigrants have come over here, and there is no sort of plan to take care of them. And we can see that in different pockets and cities in the country, across the country, I would say. But because of that, the immigration sort of topic has become a huge part of who the next potential candidate is going to be. Which leads me to sort of my next question. And I think we have some guests who are, or some viewers who are actually asking, you know,
Yeah.
Kamala, there's basically, people are very confused as to whether there's going to be a debate now between Kamala and Trump. So Sreeji, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think that to me, especially as an Illinoisan, that is super important. I voted Democrat before, I voted Republican before. Let's just say that. I vote on the person who I feel policy-wise will lead the country. That's just my personal take on it as a citizen of the USA. What do you think about this whole non-debate thing? And especially, you know, I was very impressed with the way Trump, or if anybody for that matter, would have been on that plane. I mean, he just business as usual. That is a terrifying thing. If I'm ever on a plane and they say anything like that, especially looking at the route that you just showed, it is scary. And then to go ahead and do, you know, your business just like nothing happened. It's really something for a presidential candidate. And it's, you know, if Kamala would have been on the plane, I would have said the same thing. But with that being said, that's kind of what's going on in Illinois. I think a lot of youth especially are asking, why is there not going to be a debate? Because they really want to hear what both candidates have to say, especially on the immigration issue.
So Trump has been changing his mind back and forth, and I think he's just looking carefully at the numbers he's polling. I think last time also we talked about this. Viewers, we're going to be doing this once in a while, to like maybe once every 2 weeks, to kind of gauge the mood of the nation, if you will. We are agreed that there are 8 states that actually select the president. The rest of the states, the 42 remaining states, are spoken for one way or the other. So these 8 states is where everybody starts focusing. And one was supposed to be a sure shot Trump thing, which was Ohio. But Ohio is on a razor's edge. So we don't know if J.D. Vance is going to deliver Ohio for the Republicans. Mm-hmm. Florida is also on a razor's edge. That becomes a problem because Florida was expected to be Republican, but it is not. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, which was expected to be Democrat, leaning Republican now, also because of the assassination attempt happening there. So you see all these things in the mix. And I think Trump is carefully gauging, would I win or lose by participating in a debate? I think the last I heard was, I think, September 14th or something like that in ABC. And he's also going to do one more in Fox. So there are going to be 2 debates from what I can understand. There was always, the Fox debate was always on. It was just the ABC that was back and forth, where Trump was going back and forth. And I think now he has decided that he will debate her. Kamala's debating skills are debatable. So
that's a good way to put it. You know, that's funny you say that, because I was in India when she did her COVID interview on NBC. And I think NBC also slammed her along with every other mainstream media network, because people were frustrated. They were dying at that point in time. It was the peak of COVID. And she was unable to give any sort of fact, any sort of statistic, any sort of action that, you know, solid action that the US was doing. I think people got really, really frustrated in that. And then if we saw her way before, when she was, you know, in the primaries, when she was running, I think 𝗤𝙁 𝗣𝗏𝗏 demolished her in one of the debates, the primary debates. Yes, that was way back when. Yes. So, you know, I'm not sure how she'll fare, but we want to see it. I mean, I'd want to see a presidential debate before I go and vote. That's for sure.
I think you're going to have 2 debates, and see, now what happens is they go into this preparation mode for debates. They have mock debates where somebody will play the role of Kamala for Trump and vice versa. Uh, and they try to go over the scenario, what kind of questions. See, the accusation against one of the media channels, I won't name them, was that Hillary Clinton, when she was debating Trump, she had the questions in advance. And still Trump demolished her. See, it's very, very, it's sad when somebody has the questions, they have all their prepared answers, and still they couldn't hold their ground. So
Right.
Trump kind of thinks on his feet. Let's accept it. The question is, has he also started becoming a little bit older? Because people are now picking up on some of his things, like, oh, didn't he like say this thing 3 times or 4 times? And that repetition happens because you're not remembering that just 2 minutes ago you said this, and you think that, oh, I need to hit this line because you have like your laundry list of items to cover, and you end up saying the same thing again. Then people start doubting, oh, maybe this man is getting a little old. So that
Yeah.
question will be there, but I have not really seen him do anything. I mean, if you wanted to know the rawness of a person, that would have been right after he was shot. Right after he was shot. You would be traumatized. I would be traumatized. And he ducks and he gets up and he starts putting his finger up and says, fight, fight, fight. And that was a huge statement, Priyanka. It takes guts to say that. So Kamala isn't as dumb as she looks. Let me put it out. But somewhere along the line, she's got this annoying laugh that she puts as part of her answer. Don't think that's going to go down well with viewers, because see, if you're serious, you're serious. If you're making a serious point, you just make your point and then wait for that to sink in, like a pause, right? And then just yield the floor to the other person. But if you start smiling, it doesn't really gel well. So let's wait and see if let's wait and see how she
did interview as well. I think that's what put off a lot of viewers, because it was a serious topic. What she was saying was maybe correct, but I think, do you feel that it's a nervous laughter, or it's just something that I'm sure she doesn't mean it. I'm sure she didn't want to do it while she was talking about COVID, but it's prominent, and she's really not worked on, minimizing it when she's talking about something serious as well.
Priyanka, I've seen this with many people who are your bosses. They want to admonish you, but they don't want to tell it to you in a way that you will get, really upset and like quit because you're too important for the organization. So they would smilingly tell you something that's even a smile. It's not a laughter. And usually the employees' way of getting back at their bosses is when you go out for like drinks, for example. You have a couple of drinks and then you tell something to your boss as to what you really think of him, and then you just laugh it off, saying, "Oh,
happy hour, I should say, quote unquote."
Right. So, if it is like something that she has picked up, like a catchphrase, right? If this laughter is like a catchphrase, she'll have to lose it very, very fast. I mean, these are things that they'll go through. These are professional consultants, charging thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars at least per hour, and they'll make sure that all these rough edges are smoothened out. But content-wise, substance-wise, you need to be able to think on your feet and counter the other person, especially when you sense an opening.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the debate in Parliament yesterday. I think Dayanidhi Maran, the former communications minister, did you see the debate?
I did not.
The guy made an ass of himself. He's a complete ass of himself. You know why? This guy also, with his brother, clandestinely owns not clandestinely, openly owned a company called SpiceJet, which is an airline. Now, SpiceJet was sold by him to the current owner for 1 rupee. What this guy does is, what he does is, he wants to put the government on the mat, and he says that the government sold Air India to Tatas for a song. So a BJP member stood up and said, "What about SpiceJet?" And this guy is completely flummoxed.
Yeah.
So if something like that happens, if you have a brain freeze moment in a presidential debate, you're kissing your chances goodbye. And
Yeah.
people are beginning to think that maybe is she also on drugs or something like that. Again,
I
this is
think I've
all,
heard that in Illinois, but I wouldn't be surprised. And why would you say that?
Well, the thing is, some of her responses are a little bit too excited, maybe.
Hmm.
And you see, if let's say there are some telltale signs. If you just did ingested drugs and came on stage, your eyes are a little brighter than usual. They are more wet. I think some signs. I'm not a user. I haven't observed it in many people, but I've seen some.
Now, whoever
The
is watching this debate is going to observe just that the next time she comes on. So
yes,
I'll be
yes.
on to watch out for that. But with that being said, do you think that the vice presidential debates are going to be more important this time around than the presidential ones?
Yes, definitely. But Wells himself got caught into something. Essentially he was caught lying about his army record,
Mhm.
and that doesn't augur well for him because Vance did
Great start.
go sign up the day after 9/11. That's a very patriotic thing to do. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a solid plus for him.
Mhm.
And Vance, by the way, he has the gift of the gap. He can hold his he can hold his own without trouble at all. He's very good at that. In fact, one of the things that people will also look for is if by chance something happens to the president, can the vice president step into his shoes
That's
and
right.
assume command instantly? And I can tell you, Vance projects that.
You feel so?
Personally, I feel that he projects that. He has gotten himself into a bit of a knot on abortion. I personally, I'm an independent, and I think abortion is the woman's decision, and nobody should be telling her what should be done.
I feel
Okay,
so too.
and to ban it outright is just madness. I
Mhm.
actually admonished the Supreme Court of the United States. Said, didn't you guys have anything better to do than to go back and overturn Roe v. Wade?
Yeah.
I mean,
There are
there are
bigger
so many
issues
other.
right now.
Yeah. So this was a totally politically motivated thing, and what kind of a confidence does this bench convey to the people?
Mhm.
Anyway, so this is just my personal observation. So JD Vance has said something there, and I think that is going to get him into some trouble. The other thing I think he mentioned also is about women who don't want to start a family or something like that. Lifestyles are complicated these days, and you have to respect someone for their choice and leave it at that. So I don't know why. See, these
The
are
same
pandering to
Catholic
the Bible
comment
Belt.
that's still going viral on social media. He said that at the
Yeah,
Republican National Convention, I believe, and I think it probably pissed off Republicans and Democrats. It didn't really matter. It pissed off everybody because why should? You're right. I mean, that's a personal choice. Just because you're single doesn't mean you're a crazy cat lady living at home. But
very true.
do you feel that that is going to, I mean, so I guess both sides have made mistakes in terms of the vice presidents or future vice presidents. Do you feel that, I honestly think lying about your record, lying about your past is a little bit more severe because you're kind of coming off as a person who's not upfront about, his or her past, which is problematic to me. It's kind of like marrying someone who says I've never dated anyone before. Then when you get married, you find a whole history of chat messages. It's problematic, right? It ruins
Yes,
trust off the
yes,
bat. You get
very
off to
true.
a very bad start. Do you feel that? I mean, it knocks as a personal voter, it knocks my confidence in the person from the start, and I'm disbelieving of anything that person says in the future. Well, does he really mean it? Does she really mean it? Or, it's always going to be in the back of the head. Do you feel that he's kind of shot himself in the foot by kind of lying about his past?
Possible. There is Governor Wells, who is the Democratic vice presidential candidate. Now, Priyanka, there's one demographic that is changing rapidly in the United States that we need to keep our eye on. I'll give you an example. In 2022, 9 states had the biggest constituency of voters was independent in 9 states. In other words, if you think of, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, right? In 9 states, the independents were bigger than Democrats and Republicans. Not
Hmm.
combined, it may be 35, 30, 30 or something like that. So there'll be 5 for Freedom Party, Green Party, this, that, and
Percentage.
something
Yeah,
like that, right?
that is a
So the
significant.
the independents were the majority in 9 states, and it is expected that it will become 20
Wow.
come 2024. That was a projection somebody was making. That means that Democrats are turning independent, and so are Republicans.
Yep.
Both are not happy with their party's ideologies, right? So with that much at stake, if 20 states are going to have independents as the highest voting bloc, right, you can't really predict an election. And whatever they are doing now, I believe, because there is so much partisanship now, that you can't really take anyone's word for it. And Democrats control more of the media than the Republicans do. I can
Yep.
count on my fingers how many right-wing channels are there. Fox, right? Then you have one social media channel, which is Rumble. Twitter, I'm still holding my breath. I'm not 100% sure because
Nobody
I'm
is
still
sure.
shadow banned. Yeah, I'm still shadow banned. I've not got any subscribers in 5 years now.
Yeah.
So it's become like a non sequitur. I mean, these guys are not going to change, and Facebook and others are gone. So if media is projecting a Kamala Harris win, but the independents may be thinking something else. So what I would do if I were Republicans is to keep honing in on 3 things. Always, this is important. You can carry any meeting and tell them 3 things to remember, voters, and
All right.
just keep finding out the right 3 things for the right area. You have to fine tune it for the area, of course. You can't go to Montana and talk about something that Montanans don't care about.
Right.
Things like that. So this 3 things to remember for every segment that you are addressing. Donald Trump is very good at that. This is something that I've been saying for a long time. When he speaks in a crowd of when he speaks to a crowd of 40,000 people, it looks like he's speaking to each and every one of those individuals. That's connecting in a very subliminal way. Bill Clinton used to do that. Great communicator.
Obama
right?
used to do that as well.
Obama needed a teleprompter. These 2 guys can do it without teleprompter. Small differences. Anyway, so does Kamala have that? That's a gift, really, to be able to connect with people when they are in such large numbers. In a meeting room, in a board, maybe, yeah, because one person is the boss and everybody else will basically nod their heads.
Yeah.
So this communication, this being able to connect with the individual voter, I'm not so sure Kamala is that good at it. And plus, she has risen in a very fast way. She hasn't had knocks. She has not had a tough primary. She has not had a tough election as a senator. And then even as a vice president, it wasn't that difficult. So let's wait and see what happens. You're absolutely right that 2 debates are needed and 1 vice presidential debate. So 3 debates to go. The first one doesn't count anymore because Biden is gone.
Yeah, that's right. So it is, I mean, that's exactly what youth want to see. And it's not just youth, that's what voters want to see. They want to see debate on these issues because everyone is, as you said before, there's many independents, but a lot of people are not sure at this point in time. And Kamala's rise has been, I think within weeks, right? Within days, it's just reached a peak where she's got a tremendous amount of energy behind her right now. And it remains to be seen whether she leverages that for the better in a strategic way or she just doesn't. So I think people are really curious to see what these 2 candidates, and I would say 4 at this point, the presidents and the vice presidents, are going to do.
Yes, indeed. So the main important issue that I can see is immigration. Probably the next one is economy, because one thing that these guys have falsified, and I think Trump will start picking up on this. They keep saying that the unemployment rate is low. You know what they're doing? Supposing somebody is doing 2 jobs, they're counting that as 2.
Yeah.
Not fair. I mean, you're doing 2 jobs. I'm doing 1 job, but you're doing 2 jobs. And you can't count that as 1. You can't count them as 2 because each one is only 20 hours. So somewhere that metric needs to be revisited and revised to give you an accurate picture. Many people are suffering and there are layoffs going on. I'm also hearing that some of the top software companies have right-sized the salaries. They don't want to say they have reduced their salaries. They're
Mhm.
trying to say, they're saying that they've right-sized the salaries, and that could be a huge hit for some people who bought $1 million homes and things like that. So that's another problem. And immigration. Second is, of course, economy. Third, would you say that abortion could be a significant thing? Because again, I'm trying to put these three most important things
I
that
don't
are
think
going to
so.
determine
I
2024.
actually don't think so, Shriji, just because Trump has actually flip-flopped on the abortion issue. There's no clear, I don't think people are going to take it too seriously. I think it's just going to go the way it's been going this whole time. It's been going the same way under Biden as it has under Trump. I don't think abortion is going to be a major topic that people care about. But I do agree that, the two things that I want to know right away are immigration, economy. Those are, I think, I know you like the number three, but I don't think that abortion is going to be a major issue. I think the third thing that people are going to see is what you said before, just the subliminal things. Who is going to be a better leader? I think in this particular election, people want to see a clear leader, just because the country has truly become a laughing stock. Especially, since I've been in India, I got the Indian side of things of what's going on in the US. But it's not the same America as what it used to be. So I think people are
Right.
really, the third issue is going to be who is going to be the best person that is going to get us there. And I think you're right in terms of that still needs to be determined. Is Kamala going to leverage the energy that's now behind her? Is Trump going to really narrow in on, if he's going to Montana, he's going to talk specifically to, I don't know how to say it, Montanians? Is it
Montanans.
Montanans? There we go. I almost had it. I added an I for some reason. But there was a question that I wanted to ask you, Shriji, and the audience viewers have also asked. The corporate lobby, right? You touched upon it in your last what you said before. Corporate lobby, who do you think they are going to prefer? And let's not eliminate them, because as you said, a lot of these companies have reduced salaries for people. People are upset. It's a topsy-turvy sort of world for a lot of people, where everybody is saving as much money as possible. Corporate lobby, who do you think they're going to prefer?
I think corporates would probably prefer Trump. You know why? Because he reduced the corporate tax from 35% to 22%.
Mhm.
And that effectively meant that the effective tax, because you'll get some cuts here and there, that came down. The federal corporate tax came down to like 18%. And then you had the state tax. A state tax is not too bad unless you are working in a state like California. So he did do that. He also simplified the rules for individual taxes, income taxes. I think now the exemption, standard exemption, has gone up to $20,000 for a couple. That's a big number, and that actually takes out a lot of work for you. You itemize it, you might get 20.100, but it might take you 2 days and 3 days, and you have to go and refer to different tax codes to make sure that your exemption is going to be accepted by the IRS commissioner and so on and so forth. So that was a good one too. So he has actually simplified things. He's a businessman at heart. He likes to make a deal.
Mhm.
So I think a corporate would prefer Trump. The key here is there is this huge 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is the deep state. And they appear to be really going against Trump at this point of time. And this is the thing that would worry me. The deep state is not like one entity or one individual or a group of people. It is just someone who has got a certain idea of how to steer the country in a certain direction. And if it doesn't happen that way, they get upset. See what happened in Bangladesh.
Mhm.
So these are the things that worry me a little bit. And the Republicans, they need to get their act together in the 8 or 9 now battleground states. So let me just recount these states: Ohio, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, and I'm missing one more state. It's okay. So these are all the battleground states which are going to determine who becomes the next president.
Hmm. And I think that Shriji, is the third issue, actually. It's undeterminable right now, just because there's too much that is to be determined, I would say. We're looking for a
Right.
lot of things. And I think that encompasses that third issue that you want to define, just because it just needs to be seen. People want to see now what the Republicans are going to do, what the parties are going to do, how they're going to leverage, how they're going to go forward. And there's not all that much time. Do Republicans, and do Democrats for that matter, have enough time now? It's already August. It's middle of August, I should
Yes.
say.
Yes.
I mean, we're voting in November, so there's not all that much time left. Is it enough time for them to shape up a strategy? What do you think, or what do you foresee will happen with Republicans and Democrats? That's a loaded question, but I think we just have a few minutes here, but I think I've encompassed a lot of the questions that our viewers are asking in one.
Yes. So sharpen your attacks. Your narrative has to be really, really sharpened, and you have to stick to that narrative. Sometimes you'll get boos, because now we are also seeing cross voting in primaries, and I'm
Yes.
hoping that the Republicans will go to an open primary in Minnesota and cross vote against Ilhan Omar, because that person is, in my opinion, toxic,
Radical,
and
very
and lot of falsification of records, and doesn't deserve to be. The best place for her in the United States is a jail, in my opinion, because of the long list of things that she has done wrong. Anyway, so these kinds of things are also happening. Cross voting is also happening now, and we'll have to wait and see, Priyanka. The person who's going to hold his nerve or her nerve at the debates, and also try to project that power, sense of power.
Yep.
You can rest easy under me, something like that.
Yeah. I feel so too.
Hillary could not pull it off. That is the thing there. And there's also this thing about America having never elected a woman for its president. So there is that too.
Why do you feel that is? Is it time that America is ready for a woman president? Because
I think America is ready for the most qualified person to be elected president, and gender has no place in that.
Yeah, I think this debate happened, this conversation at least happened when Hillary was running. That is America ready for a woman president? But I think at this point, people don't care. People want that sort of, mother bird that will put their wing, above them to make sure they're safe, because people are getting unhinged in their daily life right now. Citizens, no matter what strata you are, no matter what economic status you are, they're getting unhinged because their lives are being impacted in some way or the other right now. So they're kind of, I feel that voters, preferences, priorities are all different. When you ask me what is the, what's on the ground in Illinois, very mixed, very mixed. Women voters want something else. Male voters want something else. Corporate lobby wants something else. Intellectuals want something else. So it just remains to be seen. And I think that as these rallies go on in different places where these candidates are going, what they say is going to be very important, which is very different from an Indian rally. When you saw Modi going to different places during his election, by and large, the messaging was the same when I did the election. So back in 2019 and 2018. But this time around, he changed his strategy, and he spoke specifically in the state that he was in the city that he was in, to those people. And his famous thing is the hats, right, that he wears. So he wears different headgear and different hats in different places. But the messaging was also different. I think that if the candidates do this, or if one candidate does it more successfully than the other, that is going to have a tremendous impact on the vote. That's
yes, indeed. And thank you so much. And you're right. You're spot on. We have a few acknowledgements to make. Somebody has donated to us, so we'll just run through that if you don't mind. Can you go to the questions column, please? Naveen Kota, thank you so much for your generous gift. Let Kamala win, then Amrika fall under their own weight. It's not as bad as that. Thank you, Naveen Kota, again. Indians, if you love India, vote for donkey. Donkey is a Democrat symbol, guys. Next one. Chaitanya Takle wants to know, Priyanka, here's a question for you. Corporate, you already asked this question.
I think we already answered this one.
Manoj Sharma wants to know, Madam Ji, despite the radicalism, why the left-wing parties are on rise? What the voters want? But media shows right wing is in lead. Why this misinformation, madam? Any Chinese influence on US also?
China does have influence on mainstream media, but by and large, Manojji, I think that this is what you by and large read in mainstream media. As Sree said before in the debate or in this discussion, it's mainly left wing. It's mainly very radical left, a lot of misinformation, disinformation. So don't buy what you read on mainstream media. It is not the reality that's going on ground. This is something that I advocate in, I think, most of the videos that I do. Even the riots going on right now in Bangladesh, right? It is, you see head counts of, I mean, you see people making videos of lynchings and showing these lynchings on social media, but mainstream media is whitewashing it, saying, oh, it never happened, which is shocking to me. So I think that I would go so far to say, as some media outlets are actually very radical in their approach, they're very agenda driven. So the answer to your question is, where they're saying left-wing parties are on the rise, this is something that global mainstream media is projecting. It may not be the reality on ground. This is not just in America. This is around the world, especially in India, especially what we're seeing with Bangladesh right now. I think China has a lot of influence. They have been, I think there was a little bit of investigative work that I did while in India, showing that Chinese funds do go into some social media outlets, some mainstream media outlets, as well as some of the online outlets that you see. So if you look at some of my videos, we can go more into detail. Otherwise, Sree, I can do another video on that. I think that's a really interesting topic. But definitely, if there are Chinese funds going into these outlets, the messaging and the agenda is going to be different.
Yes, indeed. Ravi Shankar wants to know, Madam, Trump victory would be our victory against anti-nationals, both within and without.
Both within and outside. So I'm assuming he's talking about outside India or outside the US as well. I think yes, I think that mainstream media, as Sree said before, they are very against Trump, unless it is the 5 channels that you mentioned before. But the problem that I have with mainstream media is it has become so radical. It's either one way or the other. We have forgotten how to. The point of mainstream media is to objectively report, which none of them, I feel, are doing at this point. So when I watch, one channel, I almost have to watch the other to figure out what's going on. What is the actual issue? Where can we find some middle ground, which is what a lot of independents are looking for. They're not looking for radicalism.
Absolutely.
Trump has, Ravi Shankar-ji, advocated in the past that, it is always America first. I think that has been shown in his policies as well. That has been shown in, I think, Democratic policies in the past as well. So it's not just Trump that does it, but I really think that that is what voters want to see right now. With that being said, if Trump sort of goes to his rallies, if Trump sort of speaks about specifically what he's going to do policy-wise, which he has in the Republican National Convention, he has done it in a lot of his rallies. I want to see, I specifically want to see what Kamala is doing. As I said before, this still needs to be determined because we've not really seen much of Kamala and what she's about. So I think that whoever actually goes and talks about how America is going to be first, how they're going to put America first, I think I'm using Trump's line, but it's just a general statement that how we're going to really rise this country up, because it is a mess right now, both economically, with immigration, with, we've not the same America, as I said before. So we're really looking for the candidate that can bring America to what it was in probably the 80s and the 90s. Sree, you're you're smiling.
No, I was smiling because he coined a new moniker, "Make America Affordable," and then it reminded me of 𝗣𝗚𝗏 line, मेरे पास ये है, वो है, तुम्हारे पास क्या है? And Shashi Kapoor will say, मेरे पास माँ है. So
that's a good one.
Anand wants to know, will it? Yeah.
I think, Sree, this is a question for you. This is what I was trying to ask you before. I think you're better suited to answer this. Will a Trump victory reign in CIA against regime changes? What do you think?
Actually, Trump did not really get along well with both FBI and CIA, and he started his own group called the DNI, a Department of National Investigation or something like that. And that was the organization that he was going to for most of the primary intelligence. And they said that 2020 elections were rigged. CIA and FBI did not. So there is some politicization that has taken place in these two organizations, and I think there will be some shedding. So one way that can be done is you put somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, who has said that, I can't fire individual government employees, but I can fire group for a cause. Like, for example, if somebody acted in a biased way, I can fire them. I'll give you a simple example.
To do it, though.
Well, he says that there are rules in the government that allow you to do it as long as you can prove that this group worked together towards a certain end and not towards what the laws say. So it's a little dicey, but he claimed that, and just give it to him and see what he can do. Because the height of the wall is not going to make a difference now. I did a monologue where now the biggest threat to US are drones that are coming in. The drones are able to find out where the border patrol is, so that the coyotes can smuggle in illegals at places where the border patrol isn't looking at a particular time. So things are getting a little dicey. So
I don't think it's going to, result in regime changes. I think that 4 years is too little. The process of proving something is going to take a long, long time.
Naveen Khota, again, thank you so much. How to undo 35 trillion? It cannot be undone. They were hoping to inflate their way through that, and that's not going to happen. Now they are again talking magic numbers, like they are saying they held the rate steady, and they said that inflation is at 2.5%. Unfortunately, the inflation percentage, they have this core inflation, and then they'll say there's the other inflation. But the core inflation doesn't include energy and one other thing. I don't remember. These are the most important things that you need to include, because we pay. Doesn't matter whether the inflation number includes it or not. So energy and something else. I don't remember the second one. So they are saying that it's okay that the inflation is under control, because the Federal Reserve's goal was to keep it at 2%. That's been a policy for a long time. Now they are saying 2.5%, and that's fine. But this could be, again, magic with numbers and smoke and mirrors. The interesting thing that we all should remember is the Federal Reserve, which is the equivalent of the Reserve Bank of India, has had the same person at the helm, whether it was the Republican president or the Democratic president. They did not change that. Jerome Powell has been the Federal Reserve governor, chairman of Federal Reserve. So that in effect, it's supposed to act like an independent body. And I don't think they have any answers for how to wind down the 35 trillion. They did do what is called as quantitative tightening, the opposite of quantitative easing. But it has not been very successful. 15 million is just too large a number for America to absorb in a very short period of time. And I think still people are coming in. I think that's a big problem. I don't know what's going to happen. This could be the pivot around which people are going to vote.
I agree. I think it's going to be a massive issue to debate, which is why we want to see debates.
True. Very true. Very true.
I think we've taken care of most of the questions, Sreeji.
Yes. And I think viewers, thank you for asking all very difficult questions, I would say. I mean, very pointed and focused questions. And thank you again, Priyanka, for coming in at such short notice. We decided about an hour ago that we'll do it. And she's also putting out another video on Bangladesh. Do join and watch that one. That will be airing tomorrow. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Do weigh in by way of comments. We want to encourage Priyanka to keep coming to our channel. Thank you, Priyanka. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste.